Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most pivotal and, frankly, devastating moments in human history. The Battle of the Somme. We're going to explore the sheer scale of this conflict, the brutal realities of trench warfare, the deafening roar of artillery, and the absolutely heartbreaking human cost. So, buckle up, because this is a story that truly reshaped our understanding of modern warfare. The year is 1916. World War I has been raging for 2 long years, and the Western Front has become a nightmarish labyrinth of trenches stretching hundreds of miles across France and Belgium. Both sides are bogged down in a deadly stalemate, a war of attrition where every inch of ground is paid for in blood. The Allied commanders, primarily British and French, decided that a massive offensive was needed to break this deadlock and relieve pressure on the French forces at Vert, where they were being bled white. Their target, a relatively quiet sector in northern France, along the Somme River. The plan was ambitious, almost impossibly so. The British would launch a massive assault, preceded by an artillery bombardment unlike anything seen before. For an entire week, over 1.5 million shells would rain down on the German lines, intended to utterly obliterate their barbed wire, destroy their trenches, and crush their morale. The infantry, they believed, would then simply walk across no man's land and occupy the shattered German positions with minimal resistance. Optimism, fueled by a dangerous underestimation of the enemy, ran high among the high command. Many believed this would be the decisive blow that would win the war, but the reality that unfolded on July 1st, 1916, was a catastrophic nightmare. The week-long bombardment, while immense, failed in its primary objectives. Many of the shells were duds. Others simply churned up the ground without destroying the deep German dugouts where their soldiers hunkered down, relatively safe. And critically, the barbed wire, meant to be obliterated, remained largely intact in many crucial sectors. As the artillery lifted, signaling the infantry to advance, the German machine gunners, who had survived the barrage, emerged from their bunkers, set up their weapons, and prepared for the onslaught. What followed was pure, unadulterated horror. Thousands upon thousands of young British soldiers, many of them volunteers from the PALS battalions, marching in straight lines, burdened by heavy equipment, walked directly into a hail of machine gun fire. The German positions, far from being obliterated, were still very much alive and lethal. No man's land. That desolate stretch of churned-up earth between the trenches became a slaughterhouse. Waves of men fell, mowed down before they even reached the first line of German wire. The sheer scale of the casualties on that first day remained staggering. Over 57,000 British casualties, with nearly 20,000 killed, making it the bloodiest single day in the history of the British Army. The initial shock was profound. Commanders were baffled, unable to comprehend why their meticulously planned offensive had turned into such a disaster. Yet, despite the unimaginable losses, the battle continued. For the next 4.5 months, the Somme became a relentless grind. The fight devolved into a series of localized attacks, counterattacks, and desperate attempts to gain mere yards of ground. Trench warfare, already a brutal reality, reached its grim zenith here. Imagine living in those trenches, a constant cycle of fear, exhaustion, and unimaginable filth. The ground was often a sea of mud, churned up by artillery, filled with water, and crawling with rats. Disease was rampant. Trench foot, dysentery, and lice were commonplace. The air was thick with the stench of death, cordite, and unwashed bodies. Soldiers lived under the constant threat of enemy shelling, sniper fire, and gas attacks. Sleep was a luxury, and the mental toll was immense. Men faced not just the enemy, but also the elements. And their own decaying artillery dominated the battlefield. It wasn't just about the initial barrage. Throughout the battle, shells continually rained down, shaping the landscape, pulverizing everything in their path. The constant explosions, the whistle of incoming shells, and the concussive blasts were a relentless assault on the senses. The landscape became a moonscape, pockmarked with craters, devoid of trees, and utterly barren. Artillery was both a destroyer and a shaper of the battlefield, turning once familiar fields into an alien, hostile environment. Amidst this chaos, new tactics and technologies emerged, albeit slowly and painfully. The Somme saw the first significant use of tanks by the British in September 1916. While crude and unreliable, these early landships offered a glimpse into the future of warfare, terrifying the German troops and showing potential for breaking the stalemate. But their limited numbers and mechanical failures meant they could unturn the tide of the battle on their own. Air warfare also evolved, with reconnaissance planes playing a crucial role, mapping enemy positions and directing artillery fire. The human losses, however, are what truly defined the Somme. By the time the battle officially ended in mid-November 1916, as winter set in and the ground became impassable, the numbers were truly staggering. The Somme became a symbol, a stark embodiment of the futility and horror of modern industrial warfare. It wasn't a decisive victory for either side. The Allied forces advanced a mere 6 miles at their deepest penetration, at an unthinkable cost. While it did relieve pressure on Verdun and inflicted heavy casualties on the German army, the strategic gains were minimal. The battle fundamentally changed how people viewed war. The romantic notions of glory and heroism were replaced by a stark understanding of its mechanized brutality and the immense suffering it caused. The legacy of the Somme reverberates to this day. It stands as a powerful reminder of the devastating consequences of war, particularly when old tactics clash with new technologies. It taught the world hard lessons about the importance of combined arms tactics, the need for adaptability, and the sheer resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. For the soldiers who fought there, the experience would forever be etched into their souls, shaping their lives and perspectives long after the guns fell silent. And that brings us to the end of our journey into the Battle of the Somme. It's a somber but incredibly important part of history, reminding us of the sacrifices made and the profound impact of conflict. If you found this exploration insightful, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into history's most fascinating and often tragic moments. Your support helps us keep bringing these stories to life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.